couple of months ago, last fall, when I received the invitation to be a speaker at today's event, I felt two emotions. The first, pure and unadulterated excitement, for this had been on my so-called bucket list for a long time. I was actually audacious and bold enough to believe that one day I might be invited to speak at an event like this. The second emotion I felt, right on the heels of the first, was sheer and utter terror. For wait a minute, hold on, hold the phone, what am I going to talk about? For you see, in my imagination, when I pictured myself being invited to speak at an event like this, it was somewhere down the road. I'll give you a number, 5 years. 5 years seemed like a good number because by then I was supposed to have figured it all out. So I start my talk with a confession. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. See, early on in my career, I thought I had it figured out. I went to law school, took the bar exam. Before that, college. I had at least a couple of pieces of paper that said, "Congratulations, John, you're an adult. You figured out what you want to be when you grow up." Only life didn't quite work out that way. I changed, and I realized, you know what, maybe this wasn't a good fit. So I left the legal profession and went into corporate America. And I thought, whew, crisis averted. Check off the list, I'm good. I was happy for a couple of years. But then, over time, things started to change. The company changed, the people changed. Inevitably, I changed. And all of a sudden, I wasn't so comfortable being comfortable anymore, if that makes any sense to you. And so I was thinking about it. Why was I so terrified to come and speak today? Why was I looking at this mythic number of 5 years from today? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that maybe today is in fact the perfect day for me to be up here. Because in 5 years, I can't tell you who John Lim will be. He might be a success, however you define that word, or he could be a cautionary tale. So I was restless. And I decided it was time to get one more piece of paper. I decided to go to business school. And I had a really great time, really great experience. But my goal was to walk out of business school with the answer to the question that had been perplexing me for a long time. John, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, when I finished business school, I didn't have the answer to that question. But I did have a revelation that it was time for a change. So I left corporate America, and I became an entrepreneur. There's that buzzword. You see it on social media. You see it glamorized on film and television. I would dare say that entrepreneurship right now is undergoing some sort of renaissance. It has taken the place of the cowboy and the astronaut to become the modern-day mythic superhero. But let me tell you, in 3 years of entrepreneurship, I can tell you exactly what it's been like. It's been a lot of ups and downs. It's been a lot of uncertainty, a lot of loneliness, and a constant reminder that I can't answer the question, what do I want to be when I grow up? Now, as an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of crazy things. Let me just give you the short list. Started an ATM business. Started a small consulting business. Created digital products, online courses, and sold physical products on platforms like eBay and Amazon. I even co-created an adult coloring book, and I can't draw. Now, I'll tell you, some of those things actually turned out really well, but a lot of them, not so well. For every success that I've had a bunch of fall-on-my-face moments. However, there is one thing that I did, which has arguably been the most successful of my different ventures. I started in 2015, and ironically, it's the one thing that really doesn't make me a whole lot of money. I launched a podcast. By the way, that's my fancy studio. I decided I wanted to speak to some of the most inspiring people around the world. Business leaders, thought leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, artists. At the heart of it, though, and my second confession to you, is that I was trying to crowdsource the answer to that vexing question, John, what do you want to be when you grow up? I figured if I talked to people who I thought had figured it out, maybe I could unlock the secrets. Well, a funny thing happened. I got to connect with some of the most amazing people from around the world, from all different backgrounds. Over 150 some odd interviews and continuing today. Let me just share 5 of their stories with you. Jen Grisanti. At one point, she was arguably one of the most powerful executives working in Hollywood. Her contributions have contributed to some of the biggest shows on television for the last 2 decades. And in a moment, it was all gone. She lost her job, lost her identity, lost her big why. And as I listened, I heard the greatest comeback story of all. She reinvented herself, became an entrepreneur, and today is one of the most in-demand storytelling and scriptwriting coaches and consultants, travels the world, helping young writers break into the industry. I learned from Jen a valuable lesson. Your story is your greatest asset. It's your greatest superpower. Speaking of superheroes, Doug Drexler, quite possibly one of the most gifted visual artists of our time. He has won both the Academy Award and 2 Emmy Awards for his work in film and television, self-taught from the time he was a teenager. I learned from Doug that everyone faces fear in their life. You have a choice. You can either let fear keep you in the corner, too afraid to take a risk in life, like that late-night horror movie monster just waiting to swallow you up, or you can let fear be your greatest navigator, take you to heights unimagined, and even take you to outer space. Take a look at this guy, Leonard Kim. It wasn't that long ago, a couple of years ago, he was at rock bottom, broke, living on his grandmother's couch, without a job. Today, when he sleeps on couches, it's because he's exhausted from working with companies all over the world, helping them build their brands. He is today one of the most in-demand brand imaging influencers and social media experts out there, with a following of well over 600,000 followers, and his content has been read tens of millions of times, inspiring readers all over the world. I learned from Leonard that your personal brand isn't a perfect image you put up on Instagram. It's you, all of you, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. Kristin Wald, one of my favorite entrepreneurs that I got to listen to her story. Now, she had a problem that she shared with me that happened long ago when she was in college. I can't personally relate to it, but maybe some of you can. She hated shaving her legs in the dorm showers. Had a devil of a time trying to do that. So she came home for spring break, and this problem kept nagging at her. So she sketched out an idea, and that idea wouldn't leave her alone until she did something about it. And so what she did was she created something called the Shower Sidekick. And not that long ago, she was on the Home Shopping Network. I learned from Kristin what it means to be SAF. Scrappy as, I'll let you fill in the blank on the F, because this is a G-rated platform, but I learned SAF. Sandy Grigsby. I believe if you look up the word magic in a dictionary, you would see this photo. The most talented portrait photographer in the world. She's worked with CEOs of major companies, movie stars, and has donated portraits to those in need, including a single mom raising 3 kids on her own trying to get a new job. I learned from Sandy that everyone has magic. And if you take a little bit of that magic and show it to the world, it can open up doors you never imagined. Now, 5 amazing individuals. And here's the thing. I didn't get the answer to the question I was looking for. What do you want to be when you grow up? I got something more. And when I thought about it, I realized, wait a minute, John, maybe you've been chasing after the wrong question. Maybe this whole idea of what do you want to be when you grow up is a head fake, what we call in the movie industry a MacGuffin. It's not the real story. And so I thought about it, I wrestled with it, and I looked back on my own life. And I came across 2 events, 2 defining events that I rarely ever talk about with anybody that I'm going to share with you today. I want you to take a good look at my hands. I've had a skin condition called vitiligo for over 20 years. It causes a loss of pigment. If you can't see it, let me help you out. This is what vitiligo does to a person. Now, 2 things you should know about vitiligo. Number 1, there is no cure. And number 2, it's completely unpredictable. In some people, it actually gets better over time. In others, it stays about the same. And yet in others, it gets worse. You can imagine, when I was told that I had vitiligo 20 years ago, I was pretty scared. No, I was really scared. I went to every dermatologist and doctor that I could, tried every medication and skin cream that I could. I even started wearing makeup because every time I shook someone's hand, I was afraid. I was afraid of what their reaction would be. For years, I let this define who I was. I was obsessed with the question, will I be John with vitiligo tomorrow, next month, next year, in the next 5 years, or will it get better? Will it get worse? And from there, a parade of other questions started coming into my head. Will I be able to go to school? Will I be able to have friends? Will I be able to get a job? Will I be able to fall in love? Will people look at me funny when I walk down the street? And for years, I chased after this question. Until one day, I got tired. You ever have that thing where you're so worried about something that at some point you just give up? Well, I had that moment. I went back to my doctor and I said, look, I don't want to do this anymore. And she said to me, John, it's not life-threatening, it's your choice. So I stopped. I stopped defining myself by that condition. And a funny thing happened. Pretty soon I forgot about it. Hard to believe. You saw what it looks like. And when you shake my hand, it's pretty obvious that I have it. But I started living my life and forgetting about the vitiligo, forgetting about that question that hung over my head. A funny thing happened. As I forgot about it, all of the questions that I pondered happened, but not in the way that I thought. I was able to go to school, and as you heard earlier, I got a bunch of pieces of paper. I was able to make really good friends, some of whom are here today. I was able to fall in love a couple times in my life, actually. I was able to get a job, and I was even able to act on film and television, something I never imagined possible. So maybe, if I could let go of this question, will I be John with vitiligo next year, and just start living my life? I could take the first step to letting go of that other vexing question, what do you want to be when you grow up? That was event 1 that I reflected on. Event 2 hit a lot harder. In 2008, I was living in LA at the time. I got a call from my dad. It's a call that I hope none of you ever get. And if you have, I am truly, deeply sorry. Because you and I are part of a horrible club, and I hope we don't enroll any more members. My dad said on the other line, your mom is sick. Fly home as soon as possible. I was on the next flight out. Let me tell you a little bit about my mom. Greatest mom that a guy could ever have. Aww. I'm biased, I know, but it's true. This was a woman who had persevered, come to this country with less than $200 in her pocket, and single-handedly built up a business and raised a family. Moreover, she taught me all the important lessons to life. Work hard. Chase after your dreams. No matter what the obstacles, persevere. And also, be a good person. Think about others before you think about yourself. Now, in the last 2 weeks, she had a couple of lessons that she wanted me to learn. Now, these were lessons I had heard throughout my entire life, but it wasn't until those last 2 weeks that I realized how important they were. Number 1, she said to me, I'm going to be gone soon. I know it. But your dad, he loves you. I know you two haven't always seen eye to eye on things, but he thinks the world of you. And she was right. He and I have gotten a lot closer in the last 10 years. And he's one of my best friends, and he's someone that I look up to. Lesson 2. John, you've done so many different things, and I couldn't be prouder. But at the end of the day, John, what's most important is not your 401k. It's not your bank account. It's not your job title. It's the people who are in your life. Listen to them. Learn from them. Let your friends, your family know how much they mean to you. That is the greatest asset of all. And number 3, this is probably the one lesson that I had heard time in and time out throughout my entire life. And it wasn't until those last moments that it really sunk in. It's when she said to me, John, every moment you have, every year, every month, every day, Every minute is a gift. Do not take it for granted. Life is not meant to be on autopilot. It's not meant to be this thing where you're just comfortable. Take some leaps in your life, John. I did. And I don't have a single regret. It wasn't until then that I really learned how to listen, how to embrace learning, and how to leap. And so as I reflected on these two events, it occurred to me more and more that maybe this question that I'd been hanging on myself, carrying around like a bag of bricks, wasn't the right question. And I know some of you probably came here with that same question on your mind. And you were hoping to get a roadmap. You were hoping to get the answer to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm not talking about your job. I know some of you may love what you do. Others of you may hate what you do. And others of you, you haven't figured it out yet. What I'm here to tell you is think about letting go of that question. Listen. I have the benefit of listening to people from all different backgrounds. I didn't get the answer to the question that I thought I needed the answer to, but I got something far more valuable. You don't need a podcast to do that. You have people in your life that come into your life every day that you can listen to. Learn. Learning doesn't stop when you get a piece of paper or 20 pieces of paper. Learning happens every day. And it doesn't happen when you're comfortable and on autopilot. It happens when you experience life. The good things, the beautiful things, the sad things. What's comfortable today is not going to be comfortable tomorrow. You're going to lose people that you care about. You're going to gain people you care about. Learn as much as you can. And finally, take some leaps. If I hadn't taken some leaps, I never would have been able to fly a starship on camera or get an audition for a J.J. Abrams film or create an adult coloring book. It's when you take those unexpected leaps that beautiful things can happen. I've had my fair share of mistakes and fall on my face moments too. Bad business partners, bad investments, not buying Bitcoin in 2013 when I had the chance. By the way, if you think it was funny then, it was twice as funny in December when I did the rehearsal. But I'll tell you, I have no regrets. And so my greatest wish for you is this, is that one day when someone comes up to you and says, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, that you'll be able to tell them with full confidence and with zero hesitation what I'm going to tell you today. It's okay, because I don't know either. Thank you. Thank you.